What is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome to Collectors Gone Digital. My name is Josh, and on today's episode, we are talking about the best sets to drop in 2023. It's a little shout out to my collectibles because I saw him cover the top comics of the year, so I thought I'd follow with this episode. Now, if you did stick around till the end of our last one, I did make the comment about how we were supposed to be breaking down the Stacker platform. I am having some difficulty signing up, so I am going back and forth with their customer support. I am still putting it together. It is a video you guys can expect for next week. However, it won't be Tuesday's episode because of Metamona's interview that was just announced with David Yu. So in the interest of relevancy, I want to make sure I recap that interview first, and you guys can expect that on Tuesday. With regards to today's episode, we're going to be talking about 15 different sets, and then we're going to round the video off with some honorable mentions. So with that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy. So first up on today's list is going to be Robocop. This dropped all the way back on January 8th of this year. It is going to be a one pose, one set with a highly detailed animation. I don't know about you guys, but when this one first dropped, it definitely caught my eyes because of all the little details inside of his leg. Now, the film's success can be attributed to its unique concept, effective storytelling, memorable characters, and then the skillful execution of its director and cast. And because of all that stuff, the film has left a lasting impact on popular culture and remains a classic in the science fiction genre. Next on the list is going to be Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and this set dropped back on January 27th of this year. Now, Oswald is going to be one of the earliest animated cartoon characters created by Walt Disney. The Oswald cartoons were notable for their innovative animation techniques, and because of that, they helped establish Disney as a major player in the animation industry. Of course, right after this, Steamboat Willie followed. Now, Oswald was released for Disney's 100 Years of Celebration. That is because not long before that, the copyright did expire, so they can now use the character. They did actually end up losing the rights to the character when the series was running over on Universal. But there's going to be 3 in the set, and the most common of the 3 is going to be the animated version. The last 2 are going to be static. Next up, you guys know I'm a big fan of these sets, so I thought I'd just bundle them all together, and that is going to be Disney's concept art. So this is going to be art produced by Disney's production teams while they're making the original films. Some examples of these films on the right-hand side. And I don't know if you guys heard about this. This is completely unrelated, by the way, but when Disney closed Splash Mountain, there were people scooping water out of the parks into plastic bottles and selling them for thousands of dollars on eBay. I saw one for $6,000. When you take things like that into consideration and how crazy Disney fans actually are, I'm really curious and excited to see where these sets go in the future. Again, we're talking about concepts of characters that have become some of Disney's most popular characters even to this day. Next up, we talked about this car in a recent episode, so I'm going to make this one short, but that is the Lamborghini Huracan EVO STO. So this set dropped back on February 19th of this year. It was the first Lambo drop on VeVe. We now have a total of 3, and in my personal opinion, it is going to be my favorite one. And as mentioned in our recent episode, I couldn't find a specific total number of units, but the estimated number is between 800 and 1,000. So we know that the golden Aladin lamp marked the end of Disney's Golden Moment series. In 2023, we were introduced to its successor, that being the Platinum Moments. So there are going to be a total of 19 in the set, and a total of 10 that have dropped on VeVe so far. And of the pins that we are still missing, we have Winnie the Pooh, Moana, Simba, Cinderella, Grogu, Mulan, Chewie, and then there is going to be one more, but I can't tell who it is. But 10 have dropped, 9 remaining. Next up, this was a really popular drop this year, and that is the Incredible Hulk. In this case, I'm talking about him as a character, so I am referring, I guess, to all 4 sets here. Or I guess 5, right, with the airdrop? But the Incredible Hulk dropped back on March 31st of this year. He is going to be a one pose, one set animated piece, and also one of Marvel's most iconic characters ever. And that success can be attributed to his compelling narrative, his role in major comic book events, and then also his successful adaptations. Next up, we got the one and only Stan Lee, who dropped back on July 18th. He's going to be a legendary American comic book writer, editor, and publisher, and he played a pivotal role in shaping the comic book industry, having created many of Marvel's most iconic characters. Not really much more to say there. Everybody knows this man. Next up, we're going to have another favorite of mine, and that is going to be Japan's Astro Boy. That says July 18th, guys. My apologies, I forgot to update it from the previous slide. Now, he's also known as the Mighty Atom in Japan, and he was created by Osamu Tezuka, who's often referred to as the god of manga. And for that reason, he is considered one of the earliest and most significant works in manga, but also anime. Next up, this is going to be one of my favorites in my entire collection, and that is going to be The Little Prince. So having dropped back on July 29th of this year, the book has become one of the most translated and best-selling novels in the world. It's known for its timeless and universal themes that resonate with readers of different generations. And I'd compare this piece to Steamboat Willie, in the sense that they turned a 2D character into a 3D animated collectible. I'm pretty sure they did the exact same thing with this one. Next up, we had a little bit of a hiccup with this drop, but that is going to be The Lion King, one of Disney's best movies ever. So this dropped on August 21st, and it is considered to be one of the highest points of Disney's renaissance. Now, when it was first released, it grossed over $968 million worldwide, making it one of the highest grossing animated films of its time, but that 968 would be over $1 billion nowadays. So I am pretty sure it is still up there in terms of highest grossing movies of all time. But regardless, the film holds a special place in the hearts of both critics and audiences. Up next, we got Luke Skywalker, who dropped back on May 4th. I'm talking about his collectible and the X-Wing, actually. Both sets are fantastic, and the X-Wing is going to be its own set. Now, Luke is going to have the equivalent significance in Star Wars to that of Mickey Mouse for Disney. The success of Luke is closely tied to the success of the franchise. So with that being said, I think he's here to stay and for a while. Next up, let's talk about the Addiction series. So I would argue that this is probably one of the most exciting drops in VeVe's history. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. This dropped back in October this year. But I think because it was VeVe's first comic, and it was also just at the time of New York Comic Con, the right timing, everything was just all happening at once with a bunch of other drops at the same time. This drop turned out to be a massive success, and the team behind the comic, like Mondo and Vincent, and people like that, they became very close with the community as well. Not even just meeting people face to face, but people like Mondo hopping into spaces on X. So I don't really think there's much more to say there. I think the book is awesome. I think the character's awesome. And it turned out to be an awesome collaboration. Now, speaking of collabs, we're going to have another one here, but this time between Marvel, Christian Louis, and VeVe. So this drop happened around the same time. It was October 3rd, it dropped. And correct me if I'm wrong down below, but I believe this was VeVe's first Phygital collab. On top of being the first Phygital, it is also going to mark the first fashion item on the app. And when I say item, I mean like an actual collectible figurine. It's not going to be the first fashion-related collectible. I would give that one to Givenchy. But this is going to be the first actual piece of clothing. Now, speaking of Phygitals, roughly a week later, we had the Funko collab. So Funko, being an extremely large player in the toy and collectible space, of course, was an incredible announcement to hear. Funko has secured extensive licensing agreements with many entertainment companies, including major film studios, television networks, comic publishers, and video game developers. So in terms of the potential that this collaboration opens up for VeVe, David has actually already made the comment about how in one of their follow-up meetings after this drop, they already discussed future collabs with other partnerships involved. Now, similar to the Addiction collab, this one was a massive success as well. The only one in Funko's entire gold line to sell out. And on top of that, it was priced much higher than others in the line as well. I think this was a trial run, and I'm very excited to see what these two companies do in the future. Now, the last set before we get into some honorable mentions here is going to be the Avatar Banshee set that just dropped recently, and that was back on the 19th of November. But Avatar is going to mark another billion-dollar brand on the platform. It's one of the highest grossing films of all time. James Cameron, who's the director of the film, actually surpassed his own record, which was held by his own Titanic film. And this was after Avatar 1 grossed over $2.7 billion worldwide. Avatar 2, The Way of Water, just dropped not long ago, and that film also grossed over $1 billion. So I believe James Cameron has 3 films that have grossed over $1 billion. You have Titanic, and then you have both his Avatar films. And to round today's video off, we got some honorable mentions here. First up on the list is going to be Sesame Street. We had Cookie Monster, we had Oscar the Grouch, and then we had both the gold and silver versions of the 2 drop later on. We have a very nice animated Ghost Rider collectible that dropped on the platform. That is also going to be a 1 pose 1 set piece. Speaking of 1 pose 1 sets, we also got Tarzan and Rambo. We also had the Aladin set drop this year. That drop was a memorable one for me because I remember the AR video production they did with that one. We had Professor X and Magneto drop during New York Comic Con, and those are going to be 2 more large characters, both of which were actually introduced with the new cell shading, or whatever it's called, style. Kingpin had that as well. And then last but not least, we had the Tinkerbell set drop, 3 in the set, and of course that is a large and iconic character for Disney. Not much more to say there. Ladies and gents, that's going to conclude today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. Those were 15 sets, as well as some honorable mentions in terms of the best sets to drop this past year. Again, little shout out to My Collectibles for the video idea. We will also be having 2 new countries joining the GCU. The first time for that to happen. They will be making their debut very, very shortly. So if you guys are interested in collecting all the covers, you guys can sign up as a Panther, and one of the perks is a GCU subscription. So anytime we drop the covers, you get them airdropped right to you. If you are a Panther, you will be getting airdropped 6 covers total. 2 superheroes, 2 sidekicks, 2 villains. But if you guys enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you want to see in a future episode. And as for our next, I'll catch you then.